Welcome to our channel. You might want to check your coin jar after this, because these 6 Roosevelt dimes have sold for eye-popping amounts. Some are so easy to overlook, yet their true value can leave you speechless. These coins prove that even the smallest pieces of change can hide incredible worth. Make sure to watch the complete video, you won't believe what made these coins so valuable. Top 1, you might want to check your spare change after hearing this story. What if I told you that a single dime, one you could easily pass off without thinking, might be worth a small fortune? It sounds unbelievable, but stay with me, because what starts as pocket change ends in something truly unexpected. Most of us are used to seeing the Roosevelt dime. It's a coin we barely glance at, one that vanishes quickly into tip jars, parking meters, and coat pockets. But behind that tiny 10-cent piece lies a world of fascinating history, intricate design, and, in rare cases, hidden value. Let's rewind the clock to 1977. The United States was going through a time of change and challenge. Gas prices were high, disco ruled the radio, and people were focused on everyday life. Few noticed the coins passing through their hands, especially something as ordinary as a dime. But the U.S. Mint was hard at work, producing coins from 3 different locations: Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver. Among the coins produced that year was the Roosevelt dime with the small letter D under the date, indicating it came from the Denver Mint. Now here's the twist: Denver produced more than 376 million of these dimes in 1977. That's a massive number. With that kind of production, you'd think each one is pretty much the same. But you'd be wrong. Most of those coins entered circulation, where they were nicked, scratched, tossed into jars, and passed through countless hands. But a tiny number avoided all of that. These few dimes somehow escaped into the world in flawless condition. And that made all the difference. To understand why, you need to know what collectors are really looking for. Yes, they want coins from a certain year. Yes, they care about where it was minted. But what really excites them is condition and detail. A dime that looks brand new, untouched by time, shines in a collector's eyes. There's one detail that can boost the value of a Roosevelt dime more than almost anything else. It's the torch on the back of the coin. If the horizontal lines on both the upper and lower bands of the torch are perfectly visible and sharply struck, that dime earns a special title: full bands. And a dime with full bands is far from ordinary. Imagine being able to see every detail of the design, right down to the tiny lines etched into the metal. That's what a full bands dime offers. But not many coins from 1977 come close. The minting process back then wasn't always consistent, and the dies used to strike the coins would wear down quickly. That means most dimes came out a little soft in the details, especially on the reverse, but every now and then, a coin comes out of the mint crisp, sharp, and flawless. And that's where the magic happens. A 1977 D dime with those full bands, preserved in almost perfect condition, is like striking gold in the world of numismatics. Now, it's not just about the bands. Coins are also graded by professionals on a scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin is to 70, the more perfect it is. If your 1977 D dime has full bands and a grade of 67 or higher, you're not just holding an old coin, you're holding something rare, and collectors love rarity. But there's more to this story. Occasionally, strange things happen during the minting process. A coin might be struck off-center. It might have doubling, where the image appears to have a shadow or a second impression. In extremely rare cases, it could be struck on the wrong kind of metal blank altogether. These errors are accidental, but to collectors, they are treasures. The 1977 D Roosevelt dime has been known to show up with some of these rare traits. A full band strike combined with a high grade and a unique error. That's the kind of combination that sends collectors into a frenzy. And it has. These dimes, when discovered in near-perfect condition, don't just go into someone's coin book. They go to auction houses. They get certified. They get locked in airtight holders and displayed with pride, and the prices they command, that's where things get really exciting. Most dimes are worth exactly 10 cents. Even older ones usually don't fetch more than a few dollars unless they're silver or special in some way. But a perfect 1977 D dime with full bands and a nearly flawless surface is in another category entirely. You might think a few $100s would be impressive. Maybe even a few thousand. But here's the jaw-dropping reality point: one of these small, shiny Roosevelt dimes, specifically a 1977 D with full bands, professionally graded at an elite level, has sold for as much as $113,000. That's 1,000 times its face value. And it all comes down to rarity, condition, and timing. So before you shrug off that next dime you see, take a moment. Flip it over. Look for the date. Check for the little D under the year. Study the torch lines. Because you never know. The next great discovery in the world of coin collecting might be hiding in your change jar, your junk drawer, or even the console of your car, and now you know exactly what to look for. A simple dime, a common year, and one tiny mint mark. Top 2, you probably have one in your hand right now. A dime. Just 10 cents. Small, silver, simple. We use them without thinking, drop them in tip jars, leave them in cars, forget them in drawers. But what if one of those dimes, just like the rest, was secretly worth nearly $100,000? Sounds impossible. But here's the truth: hidden among ordinary coins are rare pieces worth small fortunes. And today, we're talking about one of them, the 1984 Roosevelt dime from the Philadelphia Mint. It's got a story that might just change how you look at your spare change forever. Back in 1984, the world was moving fast. Music, movies, and technology were booming. And while most eyes were on television screens and cassette tapes, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of coins, including the Roosevelt dime, named after Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president who led America through some of its toughest times. Roosevelt's profile sits on the front of every dime, honoring his fight against polio and his connection to the March of Dimes. The back of the coin features a torch symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. It's a clean, simple design that hasn't changed in decades. In 1984, over 1.2 billion Roosevelt dimes were made at the Philadelphia Mint. You can spot them by the small P under the date. With that many in circulation, you'd think they'd all be exactly the same. But here's where the story takes a turn. Most of those dimes were made for everyday use, quickly struck, roughly handled, and tossed into pockets and registers. But a few were different. A very small number were struck with unusual sharpness. Even fewer were perfectly preserved, never used, never scratched, and never worn down. And those few coins became the key to one of the most valuable dimes in modern history. Collectors pay close attention to condition. Coins are graded from 1 to 70, with 70 being flawless. A coin that's never been used is called mint state. Most 1984 dimes you'll find today are far from perfect, covered in nicks, dirt, or faded details. But if you find one that's sharp, shiny, and still looks brand new, you might be onto something. But condition isn't everything. There's one more detail that can boost a Roosevelt dime's value significantly: full bands. Look at the torch on the reverse of the coin. At the top and bottom, you'll see two horizontal bands. On most dimes, these bands are faint or blurry. But when a coin is perfectly struck, those bands are sharp and complete. That's called a full bands designation, and collectors love it. Finding a 1984 dime in perfect condition is rare. Finding one with full bands? Even rarer. Combine both, and now you're in serious territory. Only a handful of these coins exist in top condition with full bands. They didn't come out of circulation, they came straight from mint sets, kept sealed and untouched for years. Think about the odds. Over 1 billion coins made. Millions handled, worn, forgotten. But only a tiny number were struck just right, and even fewer survived the years without damage. That's why collectors are always searching. It's like finding a needle in a mountain of hay. So how much could one of these dimes be worth? Let's say you find a 1984 P. Roosevelt dime in mint state 66, its value might reach a few $dozen. Mint state 67. Now you're looking at a few hundred. But mint state 68 with full bands? That's the jackpot. Only a few of those coins exist in the world. They're the finest known examples, with perfect surfaces and sharp, detailed strikes. They're the best of the best, and their value reflects that. The finest known 1984 P. Roosevelt dime with full bands, graded in near-perfect condition, is valued at an incredible $97,000, yes. A coin worth just 10 cents could be worth $97,000. Not because it's old, or made of gold, or has a famous error. But simply because it was made perfectly and survived untouched. That's the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary coins with extraordinary stories. Small pieces of metal that turn into rare treasures. And they're still out there, hidden in boxes, collections, maybe even in your pocket right now. So next time you get change, look closely. Check the year. Look for the P mint mark. Examine the torch. You never know. That one coin you almost dropped could be the one that changes everything, and that's the story of the 1984 Roosevelt dime from Philadelphia. A simple coin. A rare strike. And a value that no one expects, until they take a second look. The next time someone hands you a dime, remember, it might not just be small change. It could be a hidden gem, and think about it, how many of us have handled dimes without even looking at the date? That one little coin you've been ignoring could be holding a secret worth thousands. It's not always about gold or age. Sometimes, it's about precision. Perfection. Timing. That's the beauty of collecting. Treasures don't always come in big boxes. Sometimes, they fit right in your palm. So grab a magnifying glass, check your coin jar, and who knows? Maybe your lucky dime is waiting to be discovered. Top 3, the 1988 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, just another small coin doing its quiet job in our pockets and purses. But don't blink, this one has a story that sets it apart in a big way. This dime, minted in Denver and marked with a small D just beneath the year, has become something of a quiet legend among serious coin collectors. It wasn't made to be rare, but it became rare for reasons that no one expected. Let's take a closer look, not just at the coin itself, but at why a few of these dimes from 1988 are worth far more than anyone would imagine. Minted at the Denver Mint during a year when coin production was running at full speed, this Roosevelt dime was supposed to be like any other. In fact, over 800 million of them were made that year. That's a staggering number. The goal was simple: mass production for everyday use. Quick strikes, bulk output, and no reason to expect perfection, but even in a mountain of metal, some coins slipped through the cracks of predictability. A small number of these 1988 D dimes came out unusually sharp, struck with a precision that few others matched. And that's where this story turns. Because when a coin receives a flawless strike, something magical happens. Every fine detail of the design comes to life. Now here's where things get interesting. The Roosevelt dime has a feature on its reverse that collectors pay extremely close attention to: the torch bands. There are 2 horizontal bands on the torch, one at the top, one at the bottom. When these bands are cleanly struck and show complete separation with no fading or blurring, the coin earns what's called the full bands designation. That may sound technical, but for collectors, it's everything. In most cases, coins made in high-volume years like 1988 don't have strong details. Dies wear down. Presses are overworked. Quality control favors speed over precision. So, most 1988 D dimes came out with soft, shallow detail on the reverse, especially those crucial torch bands. But once in a long while, a coin is struck early in the life of a die, when the design is sharp and unblemished. If that coin then avoids being handled, scratched, or tossed into circulation, if it somehow survives in perfect or near-perfect condition, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes rare, and in the coin world, rarity paired with condition creates real value. What makes the 1988 D dime especially exciting is how difficult it is to find one with both high grade and full bands. These aren't coins that show up every month. They're the kind of pieces that might be discovered only once in years of searching, and even then, only under ideal conditions. This isn't about age or metal content. The coin isn't silver. It doesn't have an obvious mint error. Its value doesn't come from how long it's been around or what it was made from. Instead, its worth comes from one thing: perfection, preserved against the odds. It's the kind of coin you don't just find lying around. The few that exist in high condition with full bands were likely stored in original mint packaging from day one, never touched, never dropped, never left out. They were sealed away, quietly waiting, and then, one day, someone looks a little closer. They see something different. They get it graded. And the result? A gem. One of the finest surviving examples from a sea of hundreds of millions that in terms of grade, anything above mint state 67 is already impressive. But add full bands to that, and the number of known examples shrinks dramatically. At mint state 68 with full bands, you're now dealing with an elite-level coin. We're talking about a true standout, something most collectors will never even see in person. For a coin that started its life as simple change, this kind of transformation is stunning, and so, after years of being tucked away or passed by without a second thought, this dime finds its spotlight. It becomes more than currency. It becomes a trophy. And collectors are ready to pay a serious premium for it. So how much can a top-tier 1988 D. Roosevelt dime be worth? Not a few hundred. Not a few thousand. A genuine high-grade example, certified with full bands, and virtually flawless in every way is valued today between $84,000 and $90,000. That's right. A coin most people don't look at twice could be worth nearly 90 grand, all because of how perfectly it was made, and how perfectly it was preserved. So the next time you handle a dime, especially one from the late 80s with that tiny D mint mark, take a moment. Look closely at the reverse. Examine the torch. See if those bands are fully struck. If the shine is bright and the surface is untouched, you might not be looking at just another coin, you might be holding a rare survivor. One of the few. One of the best. One of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever made, and that, right there, is the thrill of numismatics. Not everything valuable looks valuable. But with the right eye, and just a little luck, even the most ordinary coin can turn out to be something extraordinary. Top 4, the 1993 Roosevelt dime with the P mint mark. Just 10 cents, right? Easy to miss. It sits quietly in jars, pockets, and drawers. But this one, minted in Philadelphia in 1993, has a story most people overlook. A few of these seemingly ordinary dimes have turned out to be worth far more than anyone expected. Let's dig into why this small coin could be worth up to $76,000. In 1993, the US was stepping into a new era. A new president, growing technology, and shifting culture. But one thing stayed the same: the US Mint continued its work, producing billions of coins. Among them were Roosevelt dimes, unchanged in design since 1946. On the front, Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile faces left, with the year stamped below and a small P to the right, showing it was minted in Philadelphia. On the reverse, the familiar torch is flanked by olive and oak branches, symbols of peace and strength. Over 1 billion dimes were produced at the Philadelphia Mint that year. With a number like that, rarity doesn't seem likely. But some of the most valuable coins come from unexpected places. The real difference comes down to a few things: condition, detail, and survival. Most 1993 dimes went into circulation immediately. They were used, tossed around, worn down. But a very small number avoided all that. Some were sealed in mint sets, tucked away, or simply forgotten. And a few were struck so sharply that they stood out from the rest. That's where full bands come in. On the back of the dime, the torch has 2 horizontal bands. Most coins don't show them clearly. Faint lines, blurred edges, or weak strikes are common. But when both bands are fully visible, clean, and unbroken, the coin earns a full bands designation. That detail can make all the difference in value. The problem is, full bands are tough to find for this year. The dies used in 1993 were heavily worn, and the Philadelphia Mint focused on quantity, not precision. Most coins just didn't come out clean. And over time, the few that did were lost in circulation or damaged. Now, combine full bands with top condition, what collectors call mint state. Anything graded MS67 or MS68 means the coin is nearly flawless. Sharp, bright, original. No scratches, no wear. That level of preservation is incredibly rare for a 1993 dime, and when a coin checks both boxes, full bands and a high mint state grade, it becomes something else. It becomes a standout. A coin that collectors recognize immediately as special. These aren't coins you find every day. They're few, far between, and often hidden in collections or old mint sets. They don't announce themselves. There's no error or special marking. Just precision and time-defying preservation. Over the years, a small number of these coins have surfaced and been certified by top grading companies. MS-68 with full bands. That's the dream for Roosevelt dime collectors. And for this specific year and mint mark, it's among the toughest combinations to find. The number of known examples is extremely low. Some experts believe only a handful have ever been graded at that level. And when something is that rare, value climbs fast. So, what's the price tag for this small piece of change? If you're holding a 1993 Roosevelt dime from Philadelphia in pristine, untouched condition, with razor-sharp bands and original luster, you could be holding a coin worth between $76,000, yes. A coin made for 10 cents. Now valued at the price of a luxury car or college tuition. That it's not about silver or age. It's about precision. About a coin that beat the odds, stayed perfect, and caught the eye of someone who knew what they were looking at. That's the power of detail in the world of coins. A small difference creates a massive impact. So next time you pick up a dime, especially one from 1993 with a tiny P under the date, flip it over. Look closely at the torch. Study the bands. Check the surface. If everything lines up, you just might be holding something few people will ever see, because even the most ordinary coin can hold an extraordinary secret. And that's the story behind the 1993 P. Roosevelt dime. It's discoveries like this that keep collectors searching, and casual finders dreaming. Maybe there's one sitting in a forgotten drawer. Maybe you've already held one without realizing it, because in the world of coins, you never know when the smallest thing might carry the biggest surprise. Keep checking. Keep looking. Because treasures like this don't always look like treasure, at least, not at first glance. Top 5. You probably never gave much thought to the dimes in your pocket. They're small, silver, and usually just a quick way to make change. But what if one of those ordinary dimes, specifically a 2007 Roosevelt dime with a D mint mark, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Stick with me, because the story behind this 2007 D dime is far from ordinary. Most coins produced today flood the market by the millions, meant to be used, spent, and eventually forgotten. They pick up scratches, lose their shine, and fade with time. But hidden among these countless coins are rare gems that escape the wear and tear of everyday use, coins so perfectly struck and well preserved that they practically glow with mint-fresh brilliance. The 2007 dime might seem recent, but the rare examples collectors seek are far from ordinary. Their value doesn't come from age or precious metal, but from the craftsmanship and condition. So, what makes this dime stand out? It all comes down to a tiny detail on the reverse side, a design element most people overlook. Around the torch held by Roosevelt's hand, there are horizontal lines called torch bands. In the minting process, these bands are sometimes weak or incomplete because of worn-out dies or the fast pace of production at the Denver Mint that year. As a result, the majority of 2007 D dimes have faint or broken torch bands, but every so often, a coin is struck with perfect precision. The dies are fresh, the strike is strong, and those torch bands appear bold, sharp, and completely intact. This variation is called full bands, and in the coin collecting world, it's a significant indicator of rarity and quality. Now, imagine finding one of these full bands dimes that hasn't been handled, scratched, or dulled by time, a coin that still shines like it just came off the press. In top condition, this coin becomes a rare prize, sought after by collectors who understand the difference that such subtle details can make. These coins don't announce their value with glaring errors or flashy designs. Instead, their worth is hidden in subtlety and perfection. Only those with experience and knowledge can spot these gems among the millions of everyday dimes. What's fascinating is that this dime challenges what many believe about value. It's not the age or the precious metals that make it special, it's the scarcity and the pristine condition. It's about survival and perfection in a sea of common coins. Collectors love the thrill of hunting for these dimes because they're a puzzle to solve. Each find is a moment of discovery and a tangible connection to the artistry and history of coin making. Holding such a dime is holding a piece of living history, crisp and clear, and here's where it gets even more exciting, because these coins are modern, there's still hope for anyone to find one. Maybe it's hidden in a collection, tucked away in a jar, or even still circulating in change. The idea that your next casual coin pull could reveal something extraordinary is thrilling. So next time you pick up a dime, don't just toss it back into your pocket. Take a moment to study it. Turn it over and focus on that torch. Are the bands wrapping around it bold and complete? Is the surface shiny, free of scratches or wear? If you spot a 2007 D dime with those perfect full bands and in pristine condition, you might be holding a very special coin. Not just spare change, but a piece that collectors are eager to own, one that holds a value running well into the five figures. What's even more amazing is that while this coin looks simple, it represents an incredible combination of precision engineering and luck. The process of minting coins involves complex machinery, exacting standards, and sometimes, those rare moments when everything aligns perfectly. It's that perfect strike that can turn an everyday dime into something extraordinary. Beyond just the monetary worth, this coin tells a story about patience, precision, and the joy of discovery. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest treasures lie hidden in the smallest, most ordinary things. It's also a reminder to never underestimate the power of paying attention to detail. In a world moving so fast, it's easy to overlook the tiny things. But sometimes, those tiny things can change everything. Maybe you've heard stories of rare coins selling for jaw-dropping amounts, but those are usually old coins, worn and weathered by centuries. This dime flips that idea on its head. It's recent, shiny, and carries a hidden value waiting to be unlocked by someone paying close attention. This story also highlights the beauty of collecting, where patience meets passion, and knowledge turns curiosity into treasure. Every coin has a story, and every collector becomes a part of that story, preserving history one coin at a time. So don't overlook that dime. What seems like a simple coin could be the start of an exciting adventure, a chance to uncover a hidden gem that's been waiting for someone curious enough to look a little closer, because in a world filled with billions of coins, a few perfect examples still manage to shine bright, and maybe, just maybe, one of those coins is already in your hands. Top 6, at first glance, a 2010 dime minted in Denver might seem like just another ordinary coin, something you might find loose in your pocket or at the bottom of a jar. It doesn't look rare, it doesn't look valuable, and it certainly doesn't seem like a collector's dream. But by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this seemingly everyday coin has become a prized find for collectors and coin experts alike. Imagine, for a moment, that a coin produced less than 2 decades ago, something you might have handled recently, could actually be worth thousands of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but this small 10-cent piece holds a secret that many overlook. This isn't a story about dramatic minting errors or flashy misprints that grab headlines. Instead, it's about the subtle signs of quality and perfection, the kind that only the most experienced collectors can truly appreciate. When you turn this dime over and look closely at the back, you'll notice Roosevelt's torch surrounded by a series of fine horizontal lines called bands. In most coins, these bands are worn down, faint, or even broken due to the normal wear and tear on the dies used to strike them. But on a very select few, these bands remain fully intact and sharply defined. Collectors call these full bands, and coins with this feature are highly sought after. So, why do these full bands matter so much? Think of them like the signature of a perfect strike, when the dies are fresh and everything comes together just right during minting. It's a snapshot of excellence, frozen in metal. Most dimes lose these details quickly, either because the dies wear down or the coins circulate and get handled. That's why a dime with full bands is a rarity, and rarity is the heartbeat of value in the coin world. What makes this particular dime even more fascinating is its modern age. We often assume that valuable coins have to be old, ancient relics buried in history or made of precious metals like gold and silver. But this dime challenges that idea. Even in the last 20 years, coins like this have been quietly accumulating value because of their unique characteristics and outstanding condition. It's a reminder that treasure hunting isn't just about dusty old coins, it's about paying attention to the details around us every day. In 2010, the Denver Mint struck millions of these dimes, but only a small percentage of those coins show the full, bold bands collectors dream about. Combine that rarity with exceptional condition, a coin free of scratches, wear, or damage, and you get a coin that commands attention in the collecting community. It's proof that age and metal content aren't the only drivers of value. Quality, condition, and rarity play huge roles. Collectors don't just value this dime for its worth. They value it because it represents the craftsmanship and dedication behind the minting process. Each full band is a small but powerful testament to the skill, timing, and precision involved in creating a perfect strike. It's like holding a tiny piece of art, a symbol of human ingenuity and care wrapped up in everyday currency. If you enjoy looking closely at coins or even just sorting through your spare change, this 2010 dime is a perfect example of why paying attention matters. That small band of lines around the torch might seem insignificant, but it's the difference between a dime that's just another piece of change and one that could be a prized collectible. It's a reminder to slow down, observe carefully, and appreciate the tiny details that can make all the difference. By the end of this video, you'll have a new appreciation for this coin and understand why collectors keep searching for dimes like this one. It's not just about money, it's about history, art, and the story each coin carries. Picture yourself holding this dime, one of the few that emerged from the mint with perfect detail and clarity. That rarity and sharpness give it a value that can reach thousands of dollars. It's a feeling of discovery and excitement that drives collectors everywhere. It's amazing how something so small can tell such a big story. This dime reminds us that even in today's fast-paced, digital world, there's still magic in small, tangible objects. It symbolizes patience, curiosity, and the joy of uncovering hidden gems. So next time you find a dime, don't just toss it into a jar or spend it without a second thought. Take a closer look. Study the torch carefully. Look at those bands, are they fully visible and crisp? If yes, you might be holding a special coin that stands apart from the millions of others. This 2010 dime teaches us that treasures aren't always buried deep or hidden in vaults, they're often right under our noses, waiting for a sharp eye to discover them. It invites collectors and everyday coin handlers alike to look deeper, appreciate the craftsmanship, and recognize the value in what might seem ordinary. Whether you're new to collecting or have been fascinated by coins for years, this dime shows that the hunt is never over. Every coin has a story, and some stories can be worth thousands. Keep your eyes peeled and your curiosity sharp, because the next coin you come across could surprise you in ways you never expected. Don't just see coins as currency, see them as history, as art, and as opportunities for discovery. If you enjoyed this video and want to uncover more hidden treasures like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Don't forget to like and share this video with your fellow coin lovers. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what rare coins you found or want to learn about next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.